Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to another episode of B Movie Bash.
Movie Bash.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Alyssa.
And you're listening to the podcast that bashes B movies.
Yes.
If you didn't know.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. That's what the title says. But I think we have a good one today.
Oh, yes.
Or a very bad one today.
Okay. So, all right.
Okay.
So, we're going to be talking about Once Upon a Time at Christmas.
Right.
Yes.
And
you can find it on Tubi.
Okay.
In my process of looking up one of the characters on here, I looked up a few of them because I wanted to see. I was like, oh, what else have they been in? Kind of a thing. And one guy was like, what else have you been in? And
okay.
I discovered that this is not just a movie. It's not just a sequel. It is a trilogy.
Oh,
yeah.
Boy. Is this a romance?
No.
Oh.
This
sounds like straight out of Hallmark.
Yes, this is a horror Christmas movie.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
So
diving on in.
Yes,
I'm
because
excited.
I don't do romances very well.
Well,
I read romance books. I watch scary movies. That's how it goes.
That works.
I can't find a book. There is no book out there I have ever read that has scared me. So
it just seems like a weird platform for horror.
Yeah. I'm like, it's fun because like you can sit there and you can write spooky things and you go, ooh, that's spooky.
It's like intense or like, whatever, but it's not like I'm so scared I can't read anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the funny thing is I started reading a book because Book Talk on TikTok was like, oh my gosh, this book scared me so bad I couldn't even go to sleep. And I was like,
okay.
Does Scooby-Doo scare you too? Because that's like...
because no.
Because...
All right.
It was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Maybe not good, but enjoyed it.
Should we do B-Book Bash too one of these
maybe.
days? Like, that'd be fun. But I enjoyed that one. So, anyway, so we're going to be talking about 2017's Once Upon a Time at Christmas. It is rated R and has a 3.4 rating on IMDb.
Lovely.
Yes.
I feel like that's one of like the lowest rated ones you've done so far.
Yes.
Besides Tomcat, obviously.
Yeah, all the Tomcats are just like 2s.
Terrible.
So like, I know normally I'm like, oh, I give it like a halvesies. Like,
it's like a 5.
It's like a 5. Yeah. You love it or you hate it. There's no in between.
It's like so bad it's good.
Yeah.
But
there's redeeming things about it. This one,
not at all.
Not at all.
Oh wow.
I'm just glad they had fun.
Okay.
That's
so sweet of you.
They seem like they had a good time.
so glad you had fun, sweetie.
Yep,
that was great what you did.
So
Good job.
I did get the synopsis because Tony said that we should. Yeah. So here's.
I just always worry about like giving things away before we tell the story. So that's why I haven't really like delved into that kind of stuff. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and so
if the audience wants it, then we'll give it to them.
We'll give it. Yes. So. The synopsis is, when a serial killer couple dressed as Santa and Mrs. Claus terrorize a small town, a teen girl and a young cop must solve the pattern behind the seemingly random homicides. That's somewhat misleading.
Okay.
So
that's not even what the story's about?
Yeah. No, it is, but it's a little it just to say that the teen girl and a cop like must solve the pattern. That seems weird. Yeah, that's not what happens.
Okay.
So she does her shit. He and the sheriff do his shit. They're not even like.
So it's a teenage girl and a cop
and a young cop.
Oh, okay.
Doing his own thing.
Oh, okay.
So comma
semicolon.
Yeah. So I just and like we'll get to it. So we open. Okay, to one of the things that I hate the most. It's a scene that happens at the end of the movie, but they open the movie with it. Yeah. So
why do?
I don't know. So we open to a cop. I refer to him as Hot Cop because
he hot.
Because he hot.
All right. Is he the one you were like, what else is this guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, see, the funny thing is that he does have like a deep voice, but then I've discovered that there was like a few scenes that I think he re-recorded his voice over because it's even deeper than normal, and I was like, it's a little like loud too, and like it's just off. It's just a little off. Yeah. That or they had the microphone like right in his face. So like
take your lapel mic and just like eat it.
Yes. So we open to Hot Cop standing at a very small cage cell. Like, imagine all the old Western cartoons where it's just like the single cell cage right there. And we see
like jail cell?
Yeah.
Okay, cage maybe is not the right word.
I want to say it's a cage more because it says it doesn't look like...
Okay, I'll
it's literally just like
A kennel for a human.
Yeah, like, think of a bathroom stall and ever so slightly bigger than a bathroom stall. Like,
gotcha.
And a chair. That's it. Anyway, so we see him watching he's glaring down at a scantily dressed Mrs. Claus, okay?
Right.
And she asks him to open the door and they can have the most wonderful time of the year.
Ho, ho, ho!
That would have been so much better than what the girl says later. And he shakes his head, telling her that she's never going to get out of this jail cell. And she tells him that he's playing hard to get and probably enjoys the anticipation before he gets the present and stuff. You know, she has the most, like, punny, but, like, I love puns, and they were so bad.
Okay.
Like, it was just, like, what do you want for Christmas kind of bullshit.
They just, like, took every Christmas phrase and were like, write a movie around all of these and make them work.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it was dumb.
Was she hot, though?
I would say, in a normal movie, she's pretty.
Like Hallmark movie pretty?
Yeah, she does. I'm sorry. I love, like, she had a lot of fun in this movie. She's got a lot of gum going on. A lot of gum. But think Harley Quinn dressed as Santa Claus. This is her.
I mean, which Harley Quinn?
Suicide Squad. Margot Robbie.
She hot.
Yeah, but, like, the way Harley Quinn does her hair in Suicide Squad with the pigtails and stuff, and she crimps it in this. Like, I'm like, you take the time to crimp your hair for this? Anyway, so all crimped, like, she's got, like, the Santa coat that, like, is a lot of cleavage, like, the whole time, and her coat stops, like,
right below
the
vagina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically. Yeah.
Right.
And, but her boots, oh my hell, they knee-high, laced all the way up. Fuck, they were hot. Like, they were some good-looking boots, man. Right. Anyway, and as she stands up, and I'm not sure if she's this tall. I forgot to look.
Maybe it's the boots.
Maybe it was the boots. It could have also possibly been that the jail cell, like, the way they built it was, like, set up a little bit because they probably, like, wheeled it in for the movie. So it could have also possibly been on a platform. But she stands up and, like, looks down at him. And, like, I don't think that was the intention at all. But she's, like, a good, like, 5 inches taller than him or something. Like, he's, like, looking up at her kind of thing. Anyway, she was like, so how long do you think till Daddy comes to get me? And he was like, that's not happening because one of us hit him and he's out there and he's hurt. And the only way you're getting out of here is through the chair. So the electric chair kind of thing, you know, which I don't know if a lot of states still do that, but...
some do.
Some do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think New York does.
Is that what this was?
Yeah, it's based in New York, and I don't even think New York has the death penalty anymore.
I have no idea.
I don't know if they did back in 2017, but I don't think they do anymore, so... I could be wrong. And then the best fucking part of the movie was, like, a really creepy version of Jingle Bells comes over the opening credits. And I was like, that was kind of cool.
It was actually good?
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. I mean, they did have, like, some of the credits looked really cool because it looked like how, like, blood disperses in water, like how ink disperses in water, kind of, like, spreading over the screen, and that was really cool. I liked that. But then they also had, like, black clip art images of, like, trees, and, like, it's just, I'll show it to you later, but, like, yeah, it was just, but I was like, yeah, sure, it's kind of good. So we see one of those, like, you know, those, like, light signs that you can change the, like, what you see with fast food, those kind of signs that you can, like, change. Yeah.
Like a marquee.
Yeah, marquee, yes. Okay. So, like, a little mini marquee covered with, it's all decorated with Christmassy shit, right? And it says 14 December on it, right? Okay. And we open up to police sirens and radio chatter, and police tape kind of wraps in a scene. And there's this big little, like, snowdrift. And you can see some crime scene people working around and everything. And the sheriff, who, I don't know why they keep calling him sheriff when his jacket says police. Because a sheriff and a chief of police are different things. So, like, all right. I don't, it's a small town in New York. They do things backwards.
That's all they could find at Party Plus, okay.
Right, yeah. But the funny thing is that he calls him chief when he first meets him. So for a little bit, I was writing chief. And then they were like, sheriff. And I was like...
So which one?
That's like about here.
Calling someone sergeant and captain.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. So I was like, it's whatever. It's fine. I think they weren't, like, set on their...
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it makes way more sense to have had a sheriff in the area than, like, police, because it's a little kind of more small hometown-y kind of feel. But whatever. Anyway, these two have some banter back and forth, and they're my favorite characters. If the whole movie had just been about them, I've enjoyed it immensely more. Okay. But he's like, here you go. You want your peppermint latte? And he's like, the fuck is that? And he was like, it's Christmas. It's festive. And he was like, I don't want that. Like, so he's like, well, what do we have here? And he was like, well, we got a dead body. And he's like, okay. Right. And he's like, yeah, well, he's like, well, have they gotten prints? Have they gotten fibers? What are they doing? And he was like, well, there's not much fibers. We're outside, you know, and it's pretty hard to get fingerprints off snow. Yeah. Okay. So. And he's like, right. Okay. He's like, did we find the deceased car? And he's like, yeah, his car's over there, but his keys are missing. And he's like, okay. I don't know if that was the thing. And then the chief asks for cause of death, and the hot cop replies, well, I'm not a doctor, but there's the body. And he points to, like, a body bag. Mm-hmm. And then he points up to a very bloody bag, and he goes, and there's the head. So
decapitation, I guess.
He's like, so there's that. And, which I also thought was really funny, because, like, they had it, like, still, like, sitting in the spot where they found the head, and there's blood everywhere, and I'm like, they wouldn't have done that. It was for shock factor of the movie, but, like, yeah. I just... when they do shit like that, it really takes me out to be like, oh, this is a movie.
Because then you start thinking too much about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And while this is all happening, we also get to see glimpses of what actually happened. So we see that a man dressed as Santa is, like, about to go get in his car, but he realizes he doesn't have his keys, and he looks up and he sees crazy Mrs. Claus there. And she's, like, jingling his keys at him, and he's like, what the fuck? And she's got a baseball bat, right?
So she is Harley Quinn.
She's Harley Quinn, yeah.
Okay.
And so she's, like, coming after him, and he's running, and she's chasing him down, and she's just, like, cackling wildly at him, right?
Okay.
And I'm just gonna say what happens to him, and then I'm gonna tell you the other stuff happens, because it just keeps flashing back and forth. And she's just, like, merrily skipping down the street after him, and I'm like, what the? Okay. So then she knocks him down, or he trips or something, and she just kind of, like, starts, like, grazing up on him and touching his face and, like, licking his cheek, and, like, she does that a lot. Yeah. And she's like, you're not really him. And he's like, yeah. Like, he's not even wearing a beard. Like, he's brown hair, young looking, maybe in his 40s kind of guy. Like, he's, you know, he is very much like, not lady Santa Claus, you know. But then she stands up, cackle giggles, and it's like, there you are! And we look up to see this, like, big, burly guy with a scar all the way across his left side of his face. His eye, I'm assuming, was supposed to be a glass eye, but it was probably the cheapest looking, like, whiteout contact that they could get.
Lovely.
And his teeth are, like, all metal, right?
Okay.
And he's standing there with an axe and just, and kills him. So, swings it down.
And that's how the head gets apart from the body? Okay.
Yes. But obviously, the cops don't know that. But then the cops pick up, or, like, flashing back to them, the cops are like, well, the only thing we did find was this, and they hold up an evidence bag of what is very obviously a pear. And these guys later are like, oh my gosh, it's an apple. And I'm like, that is a pear. Do you not know what a pear is?
There's a very distinct shape there.
Yeah, and they were like, it's an apple. And I'm like, no, that's a pear. There's a point to it. Oh, okay. And I figured it out pretty early on, and the movie thinks we're stupid. So anyway.
We're not stupid.
They think we're stupid, yes. So, yeah, they just see that there's, like, a big bite taken out of it, and they're like, oh, man, well, we should take this back and try to get, DNA off of it, and yada, yada, right? But the scene ends when the dude gets decapitated.
Decapitated.
And then we see 15 December on the sign again. Yes. Okay, so that's how we know that it's each and every day, because it changes like that every day. There's also, once in a while throughout the show, they have, like, news reports coming in talking about things that are happening, but it's literally just recapping things that we just saw. So it's like, I didn't even bother putting them in my notes because it's bullshit. And then we see a city sign that says Woodridge. And then it kind of, like, pans over some snowy mountains and stuff. And we hear a couple fighting downstairs as the, like, camera zooms in on this girl. And this girl, I couldn't decide if she was actually 16 or if she was 30.
Oh, one of
so
those.
Like, yeah, okay. Because I looked her up too to see what other things she had been in. Mm-hmm. She is an award-winning film writer. Like, she's won awards in writing and, like, had gone to, like, all these famous acting schools and shit. And I was like, you should get your money back.
You should be just a writer, maybe? Not an actress.
Yeah, because I know she wrote a few other movies, but I could not figure... Like, it's on IMDb that she wrote these movies. You can click on these movies. There is nothing about them on there. No synopsis, no nothing, just a couple...
Just the title.
Just the title and the people who were acting in it, the, like, 4 people. And I'm like...
I mean, you can go in, I think, like, IMDb is kind of like Wikipedia, where you can go in and, like, add your own shit.
I just couldn't figure out anything about these movies.
Yeah.
There was nothing there.
That's what I'm thinking. She, like, went in and was like, this is my movie and it should be an IMDb.
But I was like, okay, like...
Did you see how old she was?
No, I forgot to... Oh, no, it didn't have her date of birth on there.
Oh,
I wanted to see how old she was, and it didn't. She's 5'7", though, so I know that. So that's exactly what I needed to know about her.
That's why I looked her up on IMDb.
Exactly.
For sure.
But they wake her from sleep, you know. And I really couldn't decide if she was a good actor or a bad actor, because she has a couple of scenes where she does pretty decently. Mm-hmm. But then every other scene she's in, it's just like the high school plays that I used to see in high school were better than this. So, like, I just... Anyway.
Except for Alice in Wonderland.
So we see, like, we obviously hear them fighting downstairs as she wakes up, and she's just like, oh, they're fighting again, kind of a thing. And her phone dings, and she rolls over to check her phone, and it's a grumpy cat meme. I just, like...
Okay.
Yeah. And anyway, so she goes to get ready for the morning and comes downstairs, and she hears her parents fighting, and the dad is yelling that they need to tell her. And she's assuming that they need to tell her that they're planning on getting a divorce. Because,
and she's probably like, thank God.
Yeah.
Please.
But they stop fighting as soon as she enters, and he, like, is like, well, I have to go to work, and, like, kisses her on the head, like the dad kiss and stuff, but he's, like, glaring at the mother the entire time, so it's this, like, intensity of just, like, hatred, and the mom is like, hi, honey, like, I wasn't just screaming a second ago, kind of bullshit.
You definitely
like,
didn't hear all of that.
Right, yeah. And she starts like, yeah, Mom, is that what's going, you know? And she's just like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, Mom, I know what a divorce looks like. And she's like, well, Frank and I, and she's like, oh, Frank, we're not even calling him Dad now? Like, okay, and stuff. And the mom is just like, well, we're just wanting to stay together until after Christmas because we want a good holiday. And I'm like, screaming at each other
That's not a good holiday.
It's not a good holiday.
No.
That's...
If there are parents that can stay together for their children, even though they don't like each other, that's great. But most of the time, that doesn't work.
No.
And being separate and happy is better than being together and hating each other.
Being separate and co-parenting is, like, as long as you're co-parenting together, that's the best way to do it. Yeah. Like, the best way is to be like, oh my gosh, you got in trouble at school, you wait till I call your father and he's gonna chew you out. And, like, that's the best way to, like, you know, I mean, not that you want to be yelling at your kids, but, like, that's the way, like...
Yeah.
You need to co-parent. It's just, anyway. And she's like, we just want to have a nice Christmas together. And we can also hear in the background their radio is playing. I guess it was just turned on. I don't think it was playing Christmas music, but now it's playing the news article, or like the newscast about the body that they found at the mall.
Right.
And anyway, so she's all like super mad about this and is like annoyed with her mom, like for calling him Frank and not Dad and stuff. And she's like, well, we're doing this because we love you, sweetheart. And she was like, you're a liar. And then leaves. Like, I was like,
ouch.
Well, she is, but that's, I don't know if that's what this is. Anyway, we'll see that later. So I thought she was leaving for school, but I guess it's winter break or something, because we actually see her at the busy murder mall. And she's standing there.
The what?
The murder mall. So the murder that happened last night happened at the mall in the parking lot.
Oh.
Yeah. And I don't know, now that I'm thinking about this again.
Processing.
I don't know why he was there dressed as Santa when there was no elves there to help. Like, I don't know why he was there late. Yeah, the victim. I don't know why he was there late at the mall. Okay. I don't know why he was there as Santa at all if no one else was. I don't know. Anyway, so we find out that Jennifer, that's her name, she's the main character, Jennifer is supposed to be one of the elves working, right? Oh. But she looks over at the chair and they see that it says closed, right? And so her two friends, which are Redhead and Blonde Girl, which we find out later is Lisa, so I'm going to call her Lisa. Okay. Redhead, I think her name was Courtney, but I'm going to call her Redhead. And I think the only point that matters for Lisa is her last name, but I'm not going to say it yet because that's... Okay. So she's just blonde last name. That's what I'm going to say. Anyway, okay. So they look over and they see that obviously that it's closed and she can't work and stuff. And so they're like, well, I guess you're not working today, Jen. Haha. And Jen goes, that's what I should ask Santa for. I'll play and no work. And
said the 16-year-old.
Yes. And I just gave more emotion in that line than she did.
Okay.
Yes. And the blonde goes, I have no idea what I want for Christmas. And you can tell a man wrote this. Oh, because redhead goes, a boyfriend with a huge cock.
Oh my, why? Nobody talks this way.
Right? And the blonde goes, hasn't he already stiffed you enough on that one?
Oh.
And the redhead goes, a girl can dream. As her boyfriend comes up behind her and like wraps his arm around her, and he was like, a girl can dream about what? And she's like, what I really want for Christmas. And like the worst thing is that I actually end up liking her later, which frustrates the hell out of me at this point. And he's like, is it perfume? And she's like, yeah, Joe, it's perfume. And I'm like, okay. He doesn't know. I didn't know what you were talking about. Yeah. Like, he's not going to immediately walk up and be like, oh, is it because I have a small dick?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like,
male enhancement pills? Like, okay.
I just...
A different boyfriend?
Yeah, I just fucking... It made me mad. I was like, why are we talking like this? Anyway, so she's like kind of bitchy to him the whole time. Well, Jennifer's boyfriend comes up, and I didn't learn until the very end of the movie that his name is David. So, like, for most of my notes, he was... Well, that's a lie. He's in this scene... And then the end of the movie. That's it. Like, that's... And, and I'm supposed to believe that they're in love. Anyway, right. So he comes up, and they start talking about how Jen isn't working right now because the Santa thing is closed. And he was like, oh, well, that's a good thing. And she's like, that's, like, a good thing? And he's like, yeah, kids shouldn't like Christmas. And she's like, why shouldn't kids like Christmas? And he says it's because it's a... We're going to have to bleep this word. Pedophile's dream. So... You know, he's like, yeah, you get to, like, sit there all day long with a bunch of different kids coming up on, sitting on your lap. And I'm like, what? That's not... No. That's why you shouldn't, like, Santa... Like, mall Santas, maybe. But, like, Christmas and Santa in general, you're a fucking cynic.
Who's the creeper here?
Right?
Sir.
Why are you thinking that? So then they're talking about how they're like, well, yeah, we should totally have our Christmas party on Christmas Eve and not Christmas because Christmas sucks. And I'm like, you guys are such angsty teenagers. Christmas sucks.
We'll have it on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, just dumb bitches.
Okay.
But the boyfriend was like, yeah, but we're passing out flyers for the event that's happening, and it happens every year, and it's called Drum Fest, and they hold it at a local bar... That these teenagers apparently are allowed to go into because the bar wants a lot of patrons to come in that night, so they don't serve alcohol. Is supposedly... What? I don't know. Because they want the teenagers to come
our
see
bar party where we don't serve alcohol.
Yeah. And where there's going to be a bunch of dumb teenagers. Like,
thumbs down, man.
I know, right? I'm like,
Thumbs
this isn't
down.
Pinks, okay? This isn't a Wednesday night on Pinks.
No.
Like that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pinks hot dogs.
Oh, no, but what's the club?
Oh, that's, not Pinks.
Not Pinks.
Planet Bang.
Yeah. There you go. Look at you.
I was like, why are we talking about hot dogs now? Okay.
Anyway, so it's just like this dumb drum fest, and I'm like, wait, is it a band competition?
Is it like Battle of the Bands?
Yeah, but is it just
drummer
drums? Like, I don't...
Drum Fest.
Drum Fest. That's what it's called. Drum Fest.
Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum.
And so they're like, oh yeah, we're just passing out flyers for that and shit, right? So the redhead chews out her boyfriend, I guess, for being lame, for wanting to go to the Drum Fest.
What a bitch.
I know. And then she tells him that they're having an annual boyfriend review on January 1st, and he needs to step up his game before storming away.
He needs to leave.
Well, he looks, because the two other girls are just like, bye, and they leave too, right? Because they're bitches too. And Joe looks at David and it's just like, she'll be back. And David's like, yeah, she'll be back. And I'm like, what?
Do you want her?
Yeah, like, what? Let's not want that.
No.
Like, that's... Anyway.
Okay.
So later that night, we see a couple making out in a parking lot when the hot cop shows up. He's knocking on their window. And he was like, hey, have you been waiting for me? And he was like, what? And he was like, yeah, we chatted online. Aren't you like... I don't remember the username that he gave him. And he's like... Are you kidding? And he's like, yeah, what the fuck are you two doing here? Like, that was like...
I like that.
I know. And because the girl was like, what?
Excuse?
What's happening? Yeah.
Threesome who?
I would have been like, bye, Troy. Hello, hot cop. But she's also a teenager. He's a grown adult.
Yep.
So that's, anyway.
Nope.
I'm a grown adult, though. So I am married, so I wouldn't do that.
I can welcome him into my car.
Yes. So he's like, okay, you guys, like, you shouldn't be out here this late. You need to go home. Like, and they're like, oh, come on, man. And he's like, no, because I know what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
This is public property. You need to go home, right? And so he's like, listen, I'm going to this place, and I'm going to be back here within an hour. And you better be gone by then, right? And so they're like, okay, yeah, we'll leave. And the girl is like, okay, come on, let's go home. And he's like, what? He said we have an hour. And she's like,
that's plenty of time.
Ugh. So they're also like, he just kind of keeps trying to get like up on her again. And their conversation makes absolutely no fucking sense. Okay. They literally had to put in there that he apparently had dated Jennifer before, and that now they're broken up because she's obviously dating David. I don't know how long ago he dated Jennifer, but I guess he was still maybe possibly hung up on her because the girl is like, I'm taking you at your word that you're not hung up on your ex-girlfriend anymore. And he's like, I'm not hung up on her, baby. I only have eyes for you. And she's like, oh, that's so romantic. And like, but the rest of their conversation, like, I don't know how they got to that point. I listened to it maybe 3 times. And it literally was like that they were saying lines and that they were like, well, different line now. Like,
slip that in there.
It just, anyway, but he's trying to like still get all up on her. And she says she keeps hearing like these weird like hook hand noises outside the car kind of bullshit, right? And they hear scratching underneath the car, right? Like underneath the car. And she's like, what is that? And he goes, it's probably just a raccoon, baby. Don't worry about it. Like, you know, as he's trying to get all up on her. And then out of nowhere, an axe just smashes through their windshield.
All right.
Right?
Okay.
And just keeps hacking away. And they're screaming. And she's like, oh my gosh, start the car. And you can see him like turning the key. And you see lights turning on. But he goes, there's no battery. And I thought for a good hot minute there, I was like, listen, I'm no mechanic. Okay. But most batteries are set in a place that's easily accessible when you pop the hood. And no hood was popped. So I don't... And then I guess later in the movie, they were like, oh yeah, the couple whose electrical lines were cut underneath the car. And I'm like, were you just down there cutting shit? Because like, I don't fucking know what to cut. No. I mean, I guess if you're down there just hacking away, things aren't going to start, everything. You know, like things aren't going to work. But like, anyway.
Okay. And
then I guess their doors were jammed shut as well because they couldn't get the doors to open. Okay. Anyway, we see Mrs. Claus, or Crazy Mrs. Claus and Crazy Santa just laughing and cackling, and they just keep smashing at the windshield as the 2 kids are screaming, and then they set the car on fire, and apparently the kids die. So,
oh, jeez.
I don't know, right?
Okay.
And so it's like the next morning, I guess. Anyway, the sheriff is there, and they're talking about it, and they're like, man, I wonder what could have happened. And they're like, well, it's totally just random. These poor kids, that sucks. And the sheriff is like, I think there might be a connection. And Hot Cop is like, but they're 2 totally different motives, you know, like what's, you know, and he was like, well, I don't know, but there could be a connection. And I'm like, do you live in a town where this happens often enough that like 2 murders back to back is not something to be like, oh, this is possibly the same person. Like, if that happened here, people would be like, oh my gosh, there is a serial killer in town. Like, I just, you know?
Yes.
Anyway, December 16 December shows up on the screen, right? And then a super cute house with a mom, a daughter, and a dog are just relaxing around their Christmas decorations, just hanging out, right? Mm-hmm. When we hear a knock on the door, and the woman gets up to go to the door, and they have this huge fucking window in the door. Okay, in the door. It's not frosted over. It's not, like, designed, like, it's just a big fucking square-ass window, okay? Right in the middle of the fucking door.
She doesn't even have, like, mom curtains?
Nope, no curtains. Nothing.
Okay.
I literally have fabric on, like, stuck to my door.
I hate doors with windows unless it's, like, the very top.
Yeah, that's what I have, and I still have something over it.
Yeah.
So, like...
I don't want people looking in my house.
I know. I don't want that. Mostly, I just don't like how the sun, like, beams into my living room. Yeah. But... yeah, so it's just this fucking window, okay? She also apparently really likes that aesthetic because her back door has the same fucking thing. So... all right. So someone knocks at the door, so she goes up, and there's obviously Crazy Mrs. Claus out there because we know what she looks like. This woman doesn't know what she looks like. And she's like, are you Mrs. Frenchin, the lawyer? And she's like, I'm a divorce lawyer, yes. And she was like, well, I was recommended to you, and I need a really good lawyer. And she's like... okay, and she's like, see, the mister won't get me a bear trap for Christmas, and I think that's grounds for a divorce. And she's like, okay, well, you can talk to me next week.
You can call me during business hours.
Yeah, you can talk to me then, right? And she's like, well, I don't think so. And they both smash through the window, obviously, and get the door unlocked, and then go about killing the mother and the daughter and their poor fucking dog. Aww. So I know, fuck them. And then 17 December comes across the screen, right? Mm-hmm. Jen is now working as an elf because they got a different Santa. And the redhead comes up and she's like, where's the blonde? And Jen's like, oh, she's at swim practice. Like, she's going to go to the Olympics and you and I are going to be stuck here in this mall. And redhead replies that she would get a gold medal at blowjobs.
Oh my, why? If you talk like this, please tell me. Because I don't think you do. I don't think you're a liar.
I think you're a liar.
I don't think anyone talks like this except for in movies.
Exactly. Like, only in movies. And it's only supposed to be, like, the slutty teenager and shit. And, like, I'm pretty sure slutty teenagers don't even talk like this.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know. I wasn't one. I didn't hang out with them.
Nope.
I don't know.
Nope. Anyway, so the redhead is like, well, I'm going to the bar later. And Jen is like, well, you're not going to be served. You're too young. And she's like, please, I have boobs and boys are dumb. And I'm like, you don't have that big of boobs. Get over yourself.
She has boobs, period,
yes,
Alyssa. Okay.
I guess. And yeah, some boys are dumb, but like, yeah.
That's a stupid line anyway.
She also could have pulled off being a teenager and or 25 at the same time. So like, just, you know. She dressed like she was older too, so like that was the thing. Anyway, so they talk a bit about the stupid drum fest thing, and then the redhead brings up that the boy Troy, I didn't get the girl's name, but Troy had died in a car accident 2 nights ago or something, or like died in an accident, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously Jen's ex-boyfriend, and Jen's like, oh my gosh, seriously, what happened? And she was like, nobody knows, they just know it was an accident, like, are you okay, kind of a thing. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. Like, I feel really bad. That's awful. And redhead was like, so, speaking of Troy, did you guys, and she's like, we only dated.
Not the moment.
Yeah, she's like, we only dated for like 3 weeks. And redhead goes, I'd have fucked him like 30 times.
I just.
Right? And Jen is like, I didn't even really like him that much. And redhead goes, who said anything about liking him? And all I could think was, David is way hotter than Troy. So,
like, I know we grew up in Utah. Mm-hmm. I get that. But also. No. And I'm sure there's plenty of teenagers who have sex, and that's one thing. But, no.
Nobody's talking like this.
No.
Yep.
My whole body is rejecting this.
Yep. It's okay. Those jokes end pretty quick.
Okay, good.
But
I'm starting to get itchy.
Yeah, but redhead was like, who said anything about liking him? And Jen was like, what kind of accident? That was just like, I couldn't tell if she was
subject.
I know, I couldn't tell if she was trying to change the subject or if it was like just her bad line delivery of like,
hopefully not that one.
I don't even know. And she's like, well, I just hope that his family's okay. And then it changes to the police department. And the sheriff and the cop are talking about the car fire. And they said that it was decided that it was arson, right? Mm-hmm. And that they had found gasoline and blah, 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 all this stuff.
They were in a parking lot, right?
They were kind of at like Makeout Cove kind of a place. It's called Turtle Dove Cove. Like that's what or Turtle Dove Point. That's what they call it.
Gotcha.
But it's like Makeout Cove, I think, Anyway, that was like a very short scene, but that happens. And then later we see redhead is at the bar with 4 other girls, and they're just all taking shots and taking selfies and stuff, right? And she's like, this one's totally going on my Facebook wall. And I was like, 2017? We had Instagram, we had Twitter. Like, why are you talking about Facebook?
Yeah.
Like, no 16-year-old is talking about Facebook.
No.
Also, Snapchat
that's
was a
stupid.
thing? That's stupid. Anyway.
Are we not checking IDs here?
I guess not. No, it's a small town. Nobody cares, I guess.
Should care because everybody knows each other.
At least you're drinking here and not drinking where I can't, So the other girls are just like, oh my gosh, don't post that. My boyfriend thinks I'm babysitting. And the other girl yeah, my mom thinks that I'm studying. And all this. I'm like, don't do that.
Why do you need to lie to the boyfriend? Why can't you just say I'm going to go to the bar with my friend?
Right? I know.
I get the parent.
Yeah, but don't lie to your significant other. Don't lie to people.
Don't lie. It's not good.
Yeah.
It leads to bad things.
It does. So they are all decide to go to the bathroom together, and they're just in there cackling away and just yada yada. There was some guy catcalling them too from the background, but we don't get to see the rest of the bar. We literally just get to see the bar,
their little spot.
Yeah, but some guys in the background hey, beautiful, give me a smile, kind of bullshit. And I was like,
that's how you get stabbed.
I know, it literally just sounded like a stagehand on set was like,
hey Joe, just yell shit.
Yeah, just really stupid. So they're all laughing in the bathroom, and they're like, oh, maybe we should have let Courtney have him. Just kind of laughing. And then they hear someone, like, aggressively crying in a stall, right?
Okay.
And so they're like, honey, hey, you okay in there? You all right? And one of the girls gets down and looks under the stall because the girl won't open it.
Okay.
And I'm like...
None of your business, you
know, and gets shot in the eye with a crossbow bolt.
What? What? Hold on.
Yeah.
I just need to process that.
Yeah, she looks under, and then we hear a... you know, kind of a noise. And then she sits up and she's got the bolt like sitting out of her eyeball, which honestly, these crossbow bolts didn't really look that long. And for how much of it was still sticking out of her eye, I'm pretty sure she probably only just would have lost her eyesight. Like that's like, I don't think she would have died from that. I don't think it really like pierced the brain or anything. So like,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So she's sitting there and the girls start screaming like they do, you know.
As you should.
And they go to run from the bathroom when crazy Mr. Claus comes in, crazy Santa, and he's got his axe and just like whacks one of the girls in the chest and she goes down. And the other girls are screaming and freaking out. And crazy Mrs. Claus comes out of the stall and she loads another bolt and shoots another girl in the chest. And crazy Santa is like coming down, bearing down on Courtney, just like like laughing at her the whole time. And she's like somehow covered in blood at this point. I don't know.
I mean, if you're axing someone next to her,
but like just one axe, it was just. Oh. But her face is like covered in it. I get that her like legs are covered in it later. You see that, but like because she was kneeling down and stuff. But like he did also touch her face at one point. But like that's about like. But she just had like blood all over her. All over her. Anyway, and then crazy Mrs. Claus. I want to know what kind of fucking D20 strength check she just did for this, because she's got the baseball bat in one hand. I don't know what happened to the crossbow. Don't know where the baseball bat came from. Probably the stall, but like no idea. She's got one of the girls by the throat and is just like with one hand squeezes the life out of her as she dies. Just one hand. Okay. The girl is just like and dies, and I'm like, holy fucking shit. She just like okay. One hand.
That's the force right there.
Yeah, just choke this bitch out.
All right.
And then she comes up and she goes to like hit Courtney, the redhead, with the baseball bat, and he just catches it. Like it's fucking just, you know, just reflexes like off the charts, catches it. And she's like, oh, baby, I want to play. And he's like, don't be greedy, love. 4 birds is enough for one night. And then laughs in Courtney's face.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
Yes. And they leave. So next we see Redhead sitting in the police station, and she's like wrapped in a blanket. And she's like totally covered in blood. And the hot cop is trying to talk to her about like, he's like, okay, and you said they were dressed as Mr. and Mrs. Claus, is that right? And she doesn't say shit to him the whole time. And he's like, okay. And so then the sheriff comes in and he's like, what's going on? And so he goes up and he recaps. And he's like, yeah, and the mayor's on the phone and he really wants to talk to you right now. And he's like, okay, I'll go talk to the sheriff, the mayor, you keep talking to her, right? So the hot cop goes over and sits down. He's like, maybe we should call your parents. And she just like dazed, like just kind of like looks down at her phone and is like, how do I do that? Kind of a look. Like she's so traumatized. And he just kind of like takes her phone from her. He's like, how about I do that for you? And she just like stares at him. And I was like, oh, like that would be absolutely traumatic. Like your friends all just died and then you got left there. Like, ooh. Yeah.
Talk about survivor's guilt.
Yeah. 18 December.
Okay.
So the sheriff and the mayor, who the mayor looks like an absolutely fucking sleazebag. Okay. How he got elected with his mustache and his goatee just is beyond me. I just, no fucking clue. Like he's even got like the swoopy kind of hair in front of his face too. Like I just don't, he looks like he belongs in Texas. Like
okay.
With the look that he had going on. It's not a New York look. So they're arguing, and the sheriff is like, well, I think we need to put a curfew in place, and I think we need to close down the mall, because this is way too many people have been dying in a week, right? At this point, though, they don't know about the lawyer and her daughter and stuff. No, they haven't talked about that at all, so I'm guessing they don't know about them, right? Which, I'm not guessing. They don't know about them. And the mayor is like, we can't shut down the mall. Like, the mall is our biggest economy, and this is the time of year that we earn money for the town. Like, this is, like... Yeah. This is how we do things. And he's like, Mayor, I think we need to do this. Like, there's going to be more dead bodies if we don't act right now. And he's like, we're not shutting down the mall. We have to keep it open. Like, just catch the guy. That's all you have to do. Yeah.
Something.
Do what you got to do, but we can't shut it down. And he's like, besides, there's no real evidence that all of these
are connected.
Okay. Yeah. And you just can't say that it's all the same people, right? And I'm like, okay, but for the sheer fact, though, that 4 teenage girls were murdered by 2 psychopaths in a busy bar, I would very much be like, no, there's a curfew in place. Nobody fucking go anywhere. You know, like, just, Anyway. And the whole time they've been talking about how they need to get the feds down there and yada yada. And so the feds show up, but we hear radio chatter, like, right before they get there, being like, oh man, it's a good thing the feds just got here because that upcoming snowstorm is going to completely cut off the roads. I'm like, okay, convenient. So the feds want to know how many people have been killed. There's like, they say there's 5 feds. There's only like 3 standing there talking to the sheriff and the cop, right? And the sheriff is like, well, there's 7 people that are killed. And the feds are like, you're missing a number. And they're like, what? And they go, you said day 1, 1 person was killed. Day 2, 2 people were killed. And then day 3, 4 people were killed, right? We're missing 3. And he was like, what? You know, kind of a thing. And they're like, well, obviously this guy is like trying to escalate during the days. Like, so he's like, day 3, though they missed day 3 kind of like there's obviously because they didn't, you know. And he's like, you need to go have some missing persons reports or whatever, or even go door to door to see if people are hurt and you don't know about it. Yeah. And they're like, he's going to keep escalating the numbers. Like, he's just, you know, I'm sure whoever it is just, we're pretty sure it's just one guy. That's what they said. Like, just one guy, and he's going to keep up in the numbers and yada, yada, yada.
And did we start 12 days before Christmas, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Okay. That's,
I see, you got it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously. I got it, like, day 2. I was like,
oh yeah.
Turtle Dove Point. You know. It did take them explaining the lawyer to me, though, why she was picked.
Why?
Because her name is Frenchin.
Oh, God.
So, French hen. Yeah. It took them explaining it later for me to figure that one out. So I was like...
I noticed that it was a weird name when you said it, but I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Like, and they, like, zoomed in on their house name, like, 4 or 5 times throughout the whole thing, and I was like, okay. It means nothing to me. Like, I don't... Anyway, so... Yeah. Anyway, they also keep, like, arguing about what they need to make public and what they don't need to make public, because if they make anything public, then the crazy Santa guy might, like, change his MO or something, or, like, change what he's wearing, because obviously he's dressed as Santa doing these murders and stuff, and he's like, he'll hopefully just keep wearing the outfit, and the cop is like, a guy dressed as Santa around Christmas?
Oh, no.
Yeah, let's hope he keeps wearing the outfit.
Yeah.
Ugh, like...
We'll catch him right away.
Yeah. So but they keep doing this like really stupid back and forth, like, well, this is my town. Well, you called us. Well, but this is our town. And like, just like, okay, I get it.
We're the feds, but I'm the sheriff.
I know, like, both of you are pretty. Okay, can we get over it? Like,
kiss and move on.
Yeah.
Okay?
Anyway, it's really dumb. So later that day, the cop pulls up to the lawyer's house. I don't know. Like, I know why they didn't find her right away, because she also, like, kind of lived secludedly. They show a lot of these houses are kind of secluded and out of the way. But, like, it's a little, like, small town kind of Main Streety feel. So he gets there. I don't know if someone called in a tip or if someone was just like, oh, she didn't show up for work or some shit. I don't know. I don't know how much time lawyers take off at Christmas.
Anyway, she did say come in next week.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Maybe someone saw that, like, her front
But that
door
was like on the
13th
of December. Why would she come in next week right before Christmas? Like, that's weird, right? Anyway, but he gets there and he sees that the window is open, and so he, like, unlocks the door. I don't know why they relocked it. That was nice of them, though.
Yeah.
Like, so he sees, obviously, the dead mom there. He goes around the house. He finds the dead daughter, and then he finds a bloody handprint on a door and opens it up, and that's how we see the leash hanging. Aww. So we don't get to see the dead dog. We get to see the dead people, but no, we don't get to see the dead dog. And I was like,
out of respect for you.
Thank
really.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And so he calls the sheriff, and he's like, yeah, I just got here. I found these people dead. What are we gonna do? Kind of bullshit, you know? Let's see. Back at the police station. Oh, and they had everybody out. Like, all of the officers were out combing the area at this point, right? Okay. Because they were trying, I guess, going door to door, yada, yada, yada. Anyway. But it's just the 5 feds at the police station. And they're talking. They're like, oh my gosh, this or this idea, or this idea. And then wives. They're talking about wives. And the main fed was like, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. Anybody want a cup of coffee? And they're like, no, we're good. And he goes back to the back by himself to get a cup of coffee and gets a phone call. And they do that thing where it's right out of their pocket. It's not even right near their head. And they go, hello, and then put it by their phone. Like, I hate that so much. No,
It's like you don't know how to use a phone.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you instinctively put it to your face?
I know, like,
yeah.
It's dumb. Everyone needs to practice good phone etiquette. Anyway, so he just starts hearing that he gets a call from the sheriff hearing that they found the bodies and stuff. And he's like, okay, well, we need to get a squad over there, blah, 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 do this, do that. Bullshit Fed talk. And he goes back out to tell the other feds that they found, that they did find bodies at, but all of the other feds are dead. Okay, like they're sitting at their like desks or now on the floor, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And then Crazy Santa comes up behind him and hits him with an axe. And there's a lot of screaming for a minute, and just I don't know. They say that they thought that he fired a gunshot too, but we didn't get to hear the gunshot, so I don't. Anyway, 19 December, right?
Does it explain why they are 5 golden rings?
They don't explain that yet.
Oh, okay.
But 19 December, we see the news start talking about how the locals are fleeing from town thinking there's too much murder going on, right? And back at the station, the crime scene unit, who's British, they brought him in here for one comment of being British. Like, they okay. There were 4 male FBI agents and 1 female FBI agents, right? Well, they're talking about how they're like, well, the weird thing is each of them had a ring finger cut off.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's the 5 golden rings kind of a thing. And he goes, yeah, all of them, even the bird. And I was like, oh, the bird. Like,
yeah, like,
the middle finger,
yeah.
And the the sheriff looks at him like, what? And the British crime scene guy goes, oh, bird, like a woman. And the sheriff goes, oh yeah, I forget you're a Brit.
What?
And I'm like, is that really something that they say over there? Like, are they just like, oh yeah, that bird over there? Like, I knew they used to say shit like that, but like...
Weird.
Okay. They were like, oh, okay, yeah, don't think much about it, but they say that, like, the Fed's gun was missing a bullet, so they think he got a shot off, so they're hoping that the murderer's been hit, and just...
Sorry, I just had a brain thought. I'm excited to see if it happens.
Okay. Anyways, the hot cop mentions that one of their farmers called complaining about something, and so he goes out to see what it is, and sure enough, 6 of his geese were killed.
The geese are laying.
Yep. Okay. So 6 of his geese were poisoned, right? And he also finds a book left out there that says 6 geese a laying, and I'm like, who writes a book like
also that? Interesting that like the dog makes sense because it's like one of the family, I guess, but they're like people and people and people and geese.
Yep.
And people. Like
just wait. So back at the mall,
trying to like think of all of the different verses.
Back at the mall, Jen closes up the Santa area and she goes to leave, and I guess she's the very last person to leave, and she sees a Jack-in-the-Box on the ground, just like down the hallway.
No, walk away.
And she's like, very funny, Joe. Haha. I don't know why she thought her friend left it like that. Anyway. So she goes up and she finds a note that says, "My sweet Jennifer," written on the envelope. And I was like, David? Who? And inside we see, there is printed text in there, but we don't get to see what that says. But it does say handwritten in there, "With all my heart, see you on the 12th, St. Nick."
Oh.
And I was like, on the
12th?
Like,
on the 12th day
of Christmas? Yeah, I was like, because we already passed the 12th day.
Yeah.
Or the 12th of December. Anyway, so she picks up the box and she turns it, and the fingers pop out when the Jack pops out. So yeah, all the fingers pop out. She freaks out, and they're at the police station, and the sheriff is explaining to her, like, he's like, don't worry, we're going to catch this guy. Like, and the mom is like absolutely fuming. She is beyond furious at the police. Yeah. And I'm like, the police didn't...
But like, what?
Yeah. And she's like super mad, and the sheriff is talking to the daughter, and he was like, listen, you're the first person that he's reached out to by name. Is there anything you can tell us? Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, I don't know anything. Like, I'm a teenager. What the fuck am I supposed to know, right? And the sheriff goes, well, would you be willing to take like a polygraph test for that? And I was like, Why? Right? So first of all, that's weird. And the mom immediately is like, absolutely not. I'm calling my lawyer, and like freaks out. She's like, my daughter's not even under arrest. You can't talk to her like this. She's like, I'm calling Mrs. Frenchin. And he was like, you can't call Mrs. Frenchin. And
also, she specifically said, I'm a divorce lawyer.
She did, didn't she?
Okay.
So you'll see.
Okay.
So the sheriff is like, you can't call her. And she's like, you can't fucking tell me what I can and cannot do. I can call a lawyer whenever I damn well please. And he's like, no, you can't call Mrs. Frenchin. And she's like, why not? Like, she's so mad. And he's like, cause she dead. And she's like, well, fuck all this, right? And she keeps having these weird little like side glances with Hot Cop. And I was like, is this why we're getting a divorce? Like, because...
Is this why things are so bad at home?
Because good on you, Lacey. But, like, I think her name was Lacey. Anyway, no, that's not what's going on.
Darn.
I know. Yeah, and so she just, like, gets really mad and storms out of there taking Jen with her. And I'm like, okay, so you know shit. You know more than you're letting us know and stuff. And then we see 20 December, right? The blonde friend is at the swimming pool, or is at the town pool, and... They said, okay, and this is nothing against her. Okay. Absolutely nothing against her. Okay. Not at all. I'm not trying to body shame whatsoever because she is way thinner than I am. Like, she's a very pretty lady. Okay. But if you are a competitive swimmer, okay, you are not swimming in a 2-piece bikini.
No.
Okay. And she does not, nothing against her, okay, she does not have the physique of, like, an Olympics. Of an athletic swimmer. Two of my stepsisters were competitive divers, okay? And they're skinny little beanpole rails, right? And not that she isn't skinny, but, like, she's not an athletic swimmer. Like, she's just not a...
Streamlined.
Yeah, she's not streamlined, yeah. And I was like, and she has her hair down, and she's just swimming in the bikini, like, in the pool with her bikini.
Maybe she's just swimming for pleasure
maybe.
Right now.
I know, but I was like, but why? Like, she was there for swim practice. Why would you get out of your swim practice suit to put on a bikini to, like...
To be cute,
I just... By yourself. You're the only person there. Who are you wearing the bikini for? I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what she's into. But, like, and again, nothing against her, but it was just, like...
It just seemed off.
I was like, why are we showing a teenager in a bikini in the first place? Okay. Yeah. Second of all, it's not, like, that's not a competitive swimmer to me. Like, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Like, put her in a Speedo with a hair cap and I'll believe you.
I would have absolutely been like, oh, yeah. I wouldn't even care if she wasn't, like, completely streamlined. I'd be like, yep, there we go. She was just the best actor for the scene. Yeah. But I was like, they purposely put this in here, so I'm going to be weirded out that she is hoping to be in the Olympics and isn't, like, this, like, just
hard ass, like, practiced, like, athletic toned. Yeah. I'm gonna swim for my life.
Yeah, and it was just really, anyway. But I would have gone about this a totally different way. So it's fine. So she hears a shower turn on, okay? And she goes over and turns it off and then goes back to grab her towel. The shower turns back on by itself, right?
And then you fucking leave.
Yeah. Well, she was like, that's weird, and went to go swim. So she's swimming, right? And she dives in, swims to the one side of the pool. There? Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But she swims the width of the pool, not the length of the pool. Like, not like how you would do normal, like, swimming back and forth.
Not up and down, but across.
That's so she comes back, comes up for air, and there's crazy Santa laughing at her, and she just screams, right? And that's 21 December comes across, right?
Where's the rest of them?
I would have gone about that a totally different way. I get what they were doing towards the later part of the movie, but other shit happens.
A whole team of synchronized swimmers.
That's what I was saying. There should have been 7 of them, okay? Because Lisa's last name is Swan.
But that's just us swan swimming.
Yeah, exactly. But I would have been like, oh, look, there's 7 of you in the water. Here's a battery. Yeah, like something. I'd have electrocuted the shit out of those swimmers. Like,
you are way too invested in that.
Okay, it makes sense towards the end of the movie why they did what they did, but it also doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I'd electrocuted the whole swim team. Yeah. So, like...
That's what as soon as I was thinking, like, down the steps, I was like, oh, swimming. Yeah. Oh, it's the swimmer. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I also was sitting here and I was like, there's a lot of coincidences for this movie to happen.
So wait, how did he kill her? I got too excited.
So, 21 December.
Okay, sorry.
You get to find out later. Okay, so 21 December. Jen is sitting in her house and has, like, this ridiculously stupid, like, scare scene. I think she has this security system in her house that when you open a door, it announces what door.
Front door.
Yeah, they're like, front door open. Yeah, it's so stupid. I was like...
They're annoying, but they're good for when you have, like, kids and stuff.
Sure. But,
we had them at the daycare that I worked at.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. So she's sitting there, and she hears that the door is open, and she's like, Mom? Dad? Is someone there? And it's redhead. Like, I don't know why she wasn't like, it's just me. Yeah. Like, bitch, like, it's fine, it's me. Like,
okay.
Like,
gotta be all creepy.
It was really stupid. So she walks in, and she's like, I just can't be home alone right now. And I don't know where her parents are, but maybe at work. I don't know. And I was like, absolutely, fucking come here, girl. Sit by me, you know. But Jen is sitting here acting like she's as traumatized as Courtney is. And Courtney is acting way less traumatized than a girl like her should be.
Do they know about the blonde?
Well, so they said, have you heard from Lisa? Her parents called and said that she didn't come home after swim practice last night. And they were like, oh shit, no, I haven't heard from her. And they're like, yeah, this isn't very good. Anyway.
Wouldn't you be panicking?
I would be panicking. I would absolutely be panicking.
Okay.
And they start going into this stupid conversation about how we need to stick together. And Redhead's like, stick together? Jen, I was at a bar with 4 friends in, like, totally, like, full bar, and they were still murdered. Like, there's no sticking together. And I'm like, yeah, I feel you on that, you know?
That makes sense.
And Jen is like, well, we just can't be victims anymore. And Courtney's like, yeah,
what are you gonna do?
Anymore. I know, right? And they're like, it also has those moments, I really hate those moments, where there's having a conversation, and there's one person who's adamant about something, and the other person who's a little apprehensive, but then agrees to it, and is like, yeah, we should try to do something like this, and the one person before that was adamant is now like, well, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm like, keep that hype the whole time. Please stay on my level. Yes. If you're wanting me to hype up with you, stay hyped. Like,
Don't question me when I join your side.
So that was their dumb little conversation back and forth where she's like, we need to do something. Yeah, we need to do something. What are we gonna do? Well, we should do this. I don't know if that's gonna work. Well, we have to do something. Oh, like, it just makes me so mad. Like, stop. It's not how real conversations happen. Like, it just... Okay. There's still a lot more of this movie. Sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, there's only 4 days left, but like, anyway.
I was looking at Within, our episode from 2 weeks ago, and it was an hour and 38 minutes long. Oh, really? I was like, holy shit. Sorry.
I remember when they were like 54 minutes.
Yeah. Like, we were like, oh man, we went over an hour. Yeah. And now we're like, oh, it was an hour and 20. We're good.
Sorry. There's just so many more notes that we take now. Like,
there's so much more bullshit.
Yep. Anyway, so they decide to Google the town. That's what teenagers do, is they Google shit. So that's what they're up to.
Okay.
Anyway.
I mean, I'm a Googler, but why?
Right.
Like, what is the town history gonna do? Or, like, I guess news articles, maybe?
It's stupid. It's real stupid. It's real stupid. Anyway, so later that day, Hot Cop is talking to a reporter, and this is one of those scenes where I'm pretty sure they had him re-record over his voice, because it is way more intense and deep, and way more, like, just... I don't know. I would very much like him to be a book narrator, though.
Yeah.
For some certain books. Anyway, so... well, he's talking to a reporter, and the reporter is like, well, do you have anything to comment about this or that? And the cop is like, I can't say anything right now that's gonna, like, you know, possibly mess up the investigation, so I can't comment on that. She's like, what about this? What about that? And he's like, again, I can't say shit about anything. This because shit. And she goes, well, the mayor is, like, absolutely furious, and he says that a curfew should have been put into place the moment the first body had been found. And the sheriff walked out right when he heard that, and he was like, what did you just say? And she goes, the mayor thinks there should have been a curfew. And he goes, you heard that come out of his mouth? And she's like, yes, I did. And he was like, I'm gonna see about that. And he goes storming out, and the hot cop's like, goes after him. And the reporter's like, hey, like, just... this juicy kind of shit. Anyway. Yeah. So we see that the mayor is standing outside, I guess the town hall. I don't know. He's standing outside. And the sheriff comes up, and this is one of the crappiest scenes of the movie, which is really frustrating because, like, the sheriff and the hot cop are great actors. Like, the rest of the movie, I was like, yeah.
I'm invested,
yeah. And even though some of it was a little nonsense bullshit, I was still like, it's fine. It's like, it's fine. But he comes up and punches the mayor in the face. Oh. But it's one of those kind of just, like, not even, like, just very stage punch, right?
Yeah.
And just, you son of a bitch, you useless asshole, I'm gonna, like, just, like, oh, it was so dumb. And the hot cop's, like, trying to, like, hey, man, stand back, like, just... It's really stupid. But going on about how he's like, you've been a thorn in my side this entire investigation, and if I catch this guy, I should charge you indict you for, what did he say? Indict him for obstruction because he'd been stopping them from doing shit the whole time, right?
Right.
And the mayor is like, well, you know what, Sheriff, you're done. You're fired, basically. And I was like, you're going to fire, like, one of the only cops on your,
Also, I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they both work for the city?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, is that how it works? I
just think it's stupid.
Okay.
But he's like, I fire you, and, like, Officer Hotface, you're going to be, you're acting sheriff right now. And Officer, like, the hot cop is like, yeah, right. And he's like, listen, I'm going to go to my son's bachelor party, and by the time I get back, your office better be empty. And I was like, why are
Who is inviting their father to their bachelor party?
That's weird shit, right?
Yeah.
That's weird shit.
Yeah.
Especially because it's at a strip club. So, like,
yeah, blah, blah, blah.
That's extra weird. Yep. Like, that's... Nope. Anyway. Yeah. So then he, like, storms off and leaves. And, of course, the sheriff ignores the fuck out of that because he's like, oh, I'm still sheriff, it's fine. Hot cop jokes with him a little bit about, he's like, oh, that was a hell of a punch kind of a thing. And I was like, that was not a hell of a punch. Like, it was bad. Anyway, so the sheriff also trying to, like, diffuse the situation. Apparently, Hot Cop got called out again to the geese farmer's, like, farm because some of his milking equipment had been vandalized. And they're laughing about that because he just calls them out, apparently, for every little thing. Gotcha. They're like, oh my gosh, what is it this time? Is it, like, the government poisoning his, like, just bullshit, right? Yeah. He gets called out all the time. So they're laughing about that, and they go back to the station. So then we see the hot cop goes to the swimming pool because I guess the parents were like, well, like, she's not home and that's the last place we knew she was. So he goes to the swimming pool and he finds some, like, origami paper swans left on the floor, right? Okay. And he's like, what the fuck? Anyway, he scoops them up, takes them back to the station, and he's talking to the sheriff about how Lisa Swan's parents are really upset and yada, yada, yada. And he's like, well, you went down to the pool, right? What did you see? And he goes, well, I just found a bunch of toy swans. Toy swan. They're paper. Yeah. They're fucking origami. They're not toys. Like, I mean, sure, you can play with them, but, like no. They're not a toy.
Why wouldn't you just say paper swans?
I know. I would be like, I found some paper swans.
Yeah.
Like,
that's weird.
He says toy swans. And I was like, that's really weird. And he's like, well, okay, whatever about that. We'll have to just keep looking for her and yada yada. Anyway, so the sheriff goes to go into his office and he finds a box left on his desk. Oh, and is like little, it's just like little package. And he's like, when the hell did this get here? So they freak out for a second and they get all together about, like, opening it up. And the hot cop is like, I think we should call the bomb squad down here, right? And the sheriff is like, we don't got time for that. Let's open this thing. And I'm like,
you don't have time to not die?
Yeah,
Also, why don't you have time?
I don't know.
Angry cop.
So, but the hot cop is like, okay, well, we better do this by the book. And he puts on a glove, right, to, like, open the box. Okay. Because it's fingerprints and whatnot, right? A glove, not two gloves. He then grabs the box with his ungloved hand and lifts the lid off. And the whole time he's like
shaking and...
because it could be a bomb, right? Yeah. He's freaking out that it could be a bomb. Anyway, he opens it up, and we see a bloody little, like, reindeer, like keychain kind of size thing. And he immediately knows that it's a USB thing, right? So he pops the head off, and it's one of those, like, USB, like those cute little keychain USB things. Anyway, they quickly plug it into a computer. Scene cuts to the strip club where the mayor is sitting around the stage with someone much younger than him with a lot of piercings. Maybe his son? I don't know, because, like, he doesn't talk to his son at all. He talks to this other guy who was like, I told you I would keep the mall open, and the guy hands him this huge wad of cash for keeping the mall open when all this, like, murder shit was going on. So, anyway, he hands him a big wad of cash for it, and one stripper comes up to him and starts talking all the naughty Christmas shit, like, do you want it naughty or nice? And he's like, ooh, you know I like it naughty. And she's like, what do you want for Christmas? And he's like, I want you, and said something, and I watched this scene 3 times, and I don't know what he just said. No idea. He's like, I want you to something.
You didn't have subtitles?
Yeah, and I still don't know what he said. Anyway, he and then goes, and to find these crazies who are killing my taxpayers. And she squats down, and it's crazy Santa lady, yeah. And she's like, I'm gonna call her Harley Claus. That's a good one. Harley Claus. She squats down, and she's like, well, it's your lucky day. And he's like, why? And then bloody Santa Claus turns him around and in a very British voice goes, because Santa Claus is coming to town.
Okay.
Yeah. And the mayor, and so he steps back with his axe, right? And the mayor, this son of a bitch, goes, oh, this is not going to be good for the local economy. As he brings the axe down in his chest, and I was like,
"Those are your last words. That's what you're talking about right now."
And just
do it again.
I know. I was very much just like, get him for that line alone. Murder his ass.
But also everything else.
But everything else, yeah. And then he throws the baseball bat to his girlfriend, and he's like, "Have fun, baby." And they just start kicking the shit out of everybody there and just like axing people, and people are running around and screaming and like and there's people like escaping but like not escape. I don't fucking know.
Maybe the doors are shut and they can't get out.
I have no idea. But we see all of this going on through a security camera, okay? And we see that it's the sheriff and the hot cop watching this happen, okay? And so the hot cop is like, we got to get people down there, right? And the sheriff goes, this isn't a live stream. So obviously it had already happened. Yeah. And so they're like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And he's like, well, we have to get people down to the strip club, right? And he's like, who are we supposed to call? And the sheriff goes, the coroner, and tell him to bring a lot of body bags. And I was like, stop writing their lines. Let them just talk. Like, just, anyway. Ugh. That's stupid. Anyway. So back at Jen's house, they can't find anything about the town. Like, there's murders. Like, murders have happened there before, but nothing that, like, seems to link up with what's going on whatsoever. And Redhead was like, well, have you tried Googling your parents? I mean, they're whiter than white, but everybody's got secrets, right? And I was like, why don't we Google your parents, Courtney? Like,
yeah,
just
that's weird.
It just anyway. So Jen does, and we see immediately the very like top thing that pulls up is this news article about hero military guy comes home in time for Christmas, kind of bullshit, and picture of her mom and picture of some military dude, right? Oh. And she's like, what the hell is this, you know? And then we immediately go back to the police station where they're talking, and they hear on the TV that most of New York State has been completely snowed in, and that there's towns that like are on their own for the next few days, and they even mention like Woodridge and how now they're trapped there with a crazed killer, and like just
okay,
the residents are on their own. Like,
that's nice.
I'm like, okay, thanks for creating mass panic in this moment. Like, whatever. So the hot cop is talking to the sheriff for a minute, and they're just like, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, he's like, there's a storm coming. And the sheriff goes, you don't have to be so melodramatic about all this. And he's like, no, there's a storm coming. Like, it's just, like, he's
there's
like,
some clouds
yeah,
right there.
We're gonna get it snowed in and shit, right? And then he just goes off about how they weren't able to find DNA or fingerprints off of the pear that came from the first crime scene, right? And the sheriff was like, pear? I thought it was an apple. And he goes, so did I, but apparently it's a pear. And I was like, it looked like a pear. What are you talking about? I just still, again, I'm like so annoyed, right? So the sheriff was like, wait a second about that, and starts putting 2 and 2 together, 12 and 12 together. And he was like, wait, what was the name of the first victim? And he was like, so he pulls out his notes and he starts flipping through and he goes, James Partridge.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And I was like, this son of a bitch. Okay.
No.
Like, how much time did this man dressed as Santa Claus have to sit down and be like, okay, all right, so
pull out the phone book.
Day 1, yeah, let's see. Okay, there is someone in this town named Partridge. Okay, all right,
he's gonna die.
He's gonna die.
I will also leave a pear.
Yes,
at the scene.
It'll be so perfect. We have to wait specifically on the second day. We better hope there's 2 people that show up to Turtle Dove Point, or we're gonna be so fucked. Like, this is not gonna make any sense if they don't show up there, right? Yeah, so that's, anyway, the mayor is talking about how he's like, oh my gosh, the 2 teenagers at Lover's Point, or Turtle Dove Point, and the hot cop starts like, oh, the 3 Frenchians.
They should be fired.
The French, I know, right? So I was like,
we're on day like 10 at this point, people.
And they think we're stupid. The movie thought we were stupid. So I was just like, I was a little insulted. Anyway, so they list the 4 things for a little while. And they're like, the 4 calling birds were the girls at the bar because that's what Brits call women, or birds. And I was like, you didn't even need to throw that in there. I absolutely, like, 1000% would have just been like, oh yeah, 4 calling birds. It's just 4 chicks. Like, I would have put it together, chicks, like, just Anyway, it's
or like
fine.
maybe they could have been like singers
or something.
I don't know.
They could have been there for karaoke night instead of just drinking at a bar.
There
like,
you go.
I know. I'm like, it would have made
We need to write a movie.
We do. So they go off about that, and they're like, the 4 calling birds, yada yada, the 5 golden rings from the FBI agents, the 6 dead geese, 7 swans a-swimming, right? And he's like, wait, but what about the 8 milkmaids? We haven't had 8 milkmaids. And the hot cop goes, no.
Dumped McFarmer.
Right? He goes, oh my gosh, no. The Farmer Peterson, had 8 milk machines destroyed.
That's so stupid.
I know. And I was like, this motherfucker.
Like, I would have been happier if you were like, 8 people that worked in the dairy section of Walmart died.
Yeah,
like,
very
what?
much. That would have made way more
milk
sense.
machines.
But every time it was a milk machine or it was the geese or whatever, the sheriff was like, good.
The local ice cream place or something. Cafeteria lunch lady.
Yeah. Anything but 8 milk machines. It's bullshit. And they were like, oh my gosh, it was 9 strippers that were killed. So 9 ladies dancing. 9 ladies dancing, yeah. And then the 10 men at the bachelor party. It's a good thing the son decided to bring 9 other guys with him to this bachelor party.
Oh, I didn't even think about the men also.
So they were the 10 Lords of Leaping.
Yeah. Okay.
I know, I was like, they're leaping where? What are they leaping to?
Go to like a track and field event or something.
Okay. Yep. Anyway, and they're like, oh wait, there's still 2 lines left. Oh, dun dun. Kind of.
Yeah.
And then the sheriff was going off about how the killer has to be local because obviously the snowstorm is like either keeping him in town or whatever. But he's like, yeah, but Peterson's farm is like way out there and pretty noticeable for Peterson's house or whatever. And he's like, he would have noticed somebody coming on to vandalize his farm, not once, but twice, you know, like just, it's dumb. Back at Jen's house, we see that she is sitting in the kitchen with the laptop when the mom comes home. And the mom's like, hi, honey, what are you up to? And the daughter goes, who's Nicholas Conway?
Fuck you, Mom.
Yep. And the mom is like,
oh, shit.
And like drops her purse and everything. And it's like, how do you know that name, right? And so then they're sitting there and she's like, who is this Nicholas Conway, Mom? And she goes, listen, Frank and I love you very much. And she's like, shut up, Mom. I'm not worried about that right now. Who is this guy, right? And she says, but when I was younger, before I met Frank, I was married to a Nicholas Conway. And he was in the British military. And I guess because of her, joined the U.S. military. I don't fucking know. Okay. He was in the Gulf War. Do that. Yeah. He was in the Gulf War. And when he came back, he was totally different. He was really aggressive and just not the same person she was married to in the first place, right?
Does.
Yes.
Sure.
And she said on Christmas Eve, he attacked her with a knife and he was arrested. And the whole time she's like, and he attacked me with a knife. And the daughter was like, oh my fuck, Mom. Like, just like the overreaction to the whole thing. Like, the whole fucking story was just like, anyway.
His name is Nick.
It is.
His name is Nick.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
I know, and I was like, and this son of a bitch, right? Like, his whole fucking thing was like, the fucking balls this movie had to have to be like, oh yeah, there happens to be someone in the town named Frenchin and Partridge and Swan, and I'm named Nick, so let's do a Christmas thing. Like, fuck this shit. And she was like, yeah, he attacked me and he was arrested, and the next day I filed for divorce, which she used Mrs. Frenchin for, right? Yeah. So, convenience there. Yeah. And that she was like, oh, that's why you referred to her as your lawyer, even though she's a divorce lawyer. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, dummy. I caught onto that one, didn't you?
You dumb bitch. Anyway, he went off the deep end and like attacked a bunch of people at the police station, and so they sent him to a mental institution. And that it had burned down 3 years ago, and she thought that he died because they found a body with a bunch of teeth around it. And they were like, oh, there's enough blood and teeth for us to be like, yep, that's him.
Sounds like the Gabby Petito case.
Right? And I was like, okay, like, they're dumb fucks. Anyway, so Jen starts, like, yelling that, well, he clearly didn't die because he's out. And that's when she realizes...
Sorry, I just read that your notes say dumb fucks.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't read much else, but I saw that.
And then she, like, is mad at her mom and is like, well, he's obviously out. And then the mom is sitting there looking sus as hell. And the daughter goes, wait, there's more you have to tell me, right? And the mom was like,
how
yeah.
Slow.
And she was like, well, before that, sorry. She was like, why did he attack you? And she was like, he was upset because he said I was breaking up the family and everything. And then Jen was like, wait, he said you were breaking up the family. But if it was just the two of you, that's a marriage, not a family. And I was like,
also still a fucking
family. Fuck you. Yeah. Like,
coming from the person who's married with no kids, happily.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I have 2 fur babies and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, and so she was like, I was pregnant when he attacked me. And she was like, so you mean my dad's just a raving lunatic? And she's like, but you're not like your father, Jen. And I was like, that is not what we were talking about, but okay.
All right.
She's like, you're nothing like him. And like, it just...
Yeah, that's a weird, like, jump.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just...
like, don't worry, you're not crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't saying I was crazy,
yeah.
but thank you.
Yeah. And so Jen is like, well, what does he want? Why is he doing all of this? And the mom is like, well, if he wants what he wanted back then, he wants us to be a family again. Then Jen gets mad and storms out of the house. So then right after that, the hot cop goes to Jen's house and is talking to the mom. And this is another scene where I'm pretty sure both of them just re-recorded their lines because they're like, the voices were way louder and like a little more animated than what their mouths were doing. And so I was like, yeah, they re-recorded this scene. So like, cause again, he's Mr. Deep Voice guy, you know, like I'll show you the scenes. So they start arguing over nonsense. Okay. Apparently hot cop knew Nicholas because they were in the military together.
Right.
And he watched Nicholas kill his best friend or some shit. They don't fully talk about
his own best friend or hot cop's best
friend?
Hot
cop's best friend.
Okay.
But I don't know if he was in the military or if he just happened to be the cop that arrested Nicholas, and when she told Nicholas she was going to divorce him at the police station when Nicholas freaked out, that's when he killed an officer. I don't fucking know because they didn't explain that very well, but they had enough time in this movie to have a 5-minute conversation about why she doesn't want to tell the sheriff that.
Okay.
Back and forth. It was just back and forth. He's like, we need to tell the sheriff. She's like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, why not? And she's like, to protect Jennifer. And he's like, this would be protecting Jennifer. And she's like, I just don't know. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are we talking about? This is what I was telling you the other night when I messaged you because I was like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense.
This is stupid.
Most of the conversations in this movie are so ass backwards. Like,
they're just space fillers.
Yeah, I was so annoyed trying to like comprehend the conversation that was happening here. But like the whole time though, I was like, why do you have way more chemistry with Hot Cop than you do your own husband? Anyway, but like, because a couple of the times the officer or like Hot Cop was talking about how he had known Jen her whole life and shit, right? And I was like, okay, then why didn't you marry the mom? Like what? Anyway, it was just dumb shit. And she was like, well, it can't possibly be true because Nicholas died in the fire. And he's like, but what if he didn't die in the fire? And she was like, well, if he didn't die in the fire, I might know who the woman was that is with him. And he's like, who? And she was like, the only other body that wasn't identified in the fire. And he's like, I have to tell the sheriff. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand. Anyway, 24th of December.
Yeah.
But now the sign's all bloody.
Okay.
Yep. And so the mom pulls out her phone, deciding to call the sheriff. So it's later that night. So she calls the sheriff, but it immediately goes to voicemail.
Because it's nighttime.
Yep. And she's telling him that she thinks she knows the killer and that Jen is out in the town right now and hasn't come back and that she's not answering her phone, right? But her cell phone dies in the middle of the call. Okay, and she starts yelling at Frank, and she's, or not yelling at Frank, yelling for Frank. She's like, Frank, the phone just stopped working. What the fuck? And he's like, it was probably just the storm knocking out the local cell phone tower. And I was like, that better be it, because I don't fucking know how Nicholas would have done this otherwise.
Yeah, it's not a phone line that you can just cut or something.
Exactly. I was like, it's not just a normal phone line. Anyway, so she hears their alarm system say that the front door open, right? So she gets up, and she goes to go look at, like, it's... I'm going to show this scene to you, and I really want you to explain to me how it happened.
Okay. Because
the layout of their house doesn't make sense for that to even be possible. Okay. Because literally, front door open. There's the front door.
You can, like, look at it.
Well, you can't see the front door, but you can see the front entryway. Okay. And what need to have happened right there, just, it wouldn't have worked. Unless other shit was going on. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, so she goes to go check the front door. And then she hears a loud crash from upstairs. And she's like, shuts the front door. And she's like, Frank? Frank, what was that? And then she hears front door open, but it's not the front door that just opens, it's their back door that opens now.
So it should say
back door, but it just is the same fucking voice. So she looks over, and that door is open, so she goes over and she shuts it, and then she goes back to yelling for Frank because...
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah. And then from behind her, Nicholas jumps out, and his stupid, crazy British accent yelling, "Merry Christmas, sweetheart!"
Oh,
like, so super bad Cockney. Like,
oh, no.
Yeah, and just... It's really bad. And so she's like, "Frank, oh my gosh!" And he's like, "Oh, Frank's not going to be joining us for the rest of his life, I'm afraid, my dear."
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I was like...
Oh, no. No.
And so the mom is like, "Please don't hurt me." And he's like, "I'm not gonna hurt you. You're the mother of my child." And he's like, she's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "To get the family back together for the holidays." Like,
don't know what you just... Oh, the family back together for the holidays. Yeah. Okay. I was like, the ferry boat to what? What am I doing?
And then points at the stairs and goes, "Oh, there she is." And crazy Mrs. Claus comes down the stairs, okay? Cackling like a fucking maniac.
I mean, if she was in a mental institution.
Sure. I think she forgot a line.
Oh.
Because she comes down the stairs just like, laughing, like, and then hops down on the landing, not the final landing, but like the turn landing, right?
Yeah.
And then she's there, and she's got her baseball bat, and she's just kind of smacking it into her hand, cackling maniacally, shaking her hair around, okay? And I'm going to show you the scene. And then, like, still cackling, comes down the stairs at her, right? I was like...
That was a lot?
That was a lot. But the whole time, every time she was on screen... I haven't made you watch The 10th Kingdom, have I?
I've seen parts of it, but okay. I would not remember anything.
The trolls from that movie. I think she took her acting tips from watching that movie, because they're very animated and just kind of trollish and just kind of like very cartoony kind of characters, right? And that's who she was in this, like, she just had a lot of, like, wide leg walks and just, like, everything about her, I was like...
Very dramatic.
You're a fucking troll. Like, it's just... Weird. It's really... And she just, like, is cackling. And I'm just... the whole time I watched this scene, I was like, I'm glad you're having fun. Like, I'm really...
This is good for you.
I'm excited for you. I'm happy.
I'm happy that you're happy.
Yeah. Because I'm not. Yeah. So... And then the mom turns around... and gets clocked in the face by the blunt end of the axe, right? Just the wooden handle part. And he knocks her out. And he was like, "All we're missing is mistletoe," and clocks her in the head. Then says that we need to get Frank down here so we can have some fun and shit, right? So Jen is at the bar later with her friends, okay? The bar that is having the drum fest tonight, okay? That said, we're not serving alcohol because we want teenagers to come. As they walk away from the bar, all carrying beers.
Okay.
So fuck this bartender, or like the barkeep, or whatever the fuck is going on, because they're just letting fucking everybody in here, fucking letting everybody drink. And as all this is going on, we keep seeing scenes of what's happening at the bar and what's happening back at Jen's house, okay? But right now, I guess the sheriff got part of the voicemail before the phone cut off, kind of a thing. Like, it probably still tried to send through, and but I don't know why it would have if the cell phone tower wasn't working. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense. Anyway, so this whole thing is going on. I'm going to talk about what happens to the cops, and then I'm going to talk about what happens at the bar. Okay. So they go to check in on the mom and Jen.
Good.
And Frank, and they find a plumber's truck outside. And I don't know if this is Frank's truck, or if the crazy couple literally just pulled this truck up here, because I mean,
have they been, like, using that as a faux car, you know?
I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Okay. But the side of the plumber's truck says, "The pipes are calling," or something like that. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's the pipers piping bullshit." And I was like, okay. And there's this very long bloody trail, like, it really seriously looks like the production company just, like, soaked a rug in blood and then just, like, drug it across the carpet or the snow, right? But then also we're, like, drizzling more blood on the side. It's so much blood. I was like, I don't think
that person's dead.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think there is a human in the world that has that much blood.
Yeah.
You probably need like 6 people for that much blood, because like...
That's a lot.
It's a lot of blood.
Okay.
Not that it leads anywhere. Not that it does anything.
Okay.
They just see a bunch of blood. And I was like, okay, right? Also, it could have been the police officer, because they did have a police car, like, stationed outside, but there's no cop in the car, so obviously he's dead, you know. So they go inside, and as they're opening the door, we hear Nicholas's voice narrating the night before Christmas. Okay. And I really thought it was, like, just an over narration of just him trying to be creepy, like the movie was trying to make him creepy. But they go through the house, they find Frank's dead body. He's wrapped up in Christmas lights and his throat's been cut. And I was like, that's very, like, generous of them to just only cut his throat and be done with it. Because, like, he could have been, like, this is the guy who, like, married your wife after she left you.
And
like,
destroyed your family.
Yeah,
and
like,
now you want your family back. And,
yeah. So they're going through the whole house, and they get upstairs, and the cop finds a hanging recorder. And I guess that's what's telling the story right now. Not just that they have to have anyway, they can't find the mom, right? Obviously, she was taken with them, right? Yeah. So they're like, fuck, what are we supposed to do now? And they go downstairs and they're talking, and they're like, well, there's still 2 more lines left, you know? Or like, there was the pipers, right? And they're like, okay, well, this is like, what is it? Well, it had just hit midnight, so now it's December 25th, but we'll get back to that in a second at the bar. And they're like, wait, today's the 12th day of Christmas, right? So that means it's the drummers drumming, right? And they're like, what does that even mean? Oh my God. And that's when they find the Drum Fest flyer sitting on their counter, because convenience.
Yeah. Because who in the town doesn't know about this?
Right? That apparently is an annual thing they do every year.
I wonder what the drummer's drumming could be.
Right?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was bullshit. So they were like, fuck, we better get to the bar, right? So back at the bar, Jen is there with her friends, and they go up, and we see a drummer doing the most awkward, like, you know how they do like 1, 2, 3, 4, like clacking their drumsticks together? He is like, like trying really hard to make sure that he's hitting these drumsticks together, kind of a thing, right? But it's everyone counting down.
To Christmas?
Okay.
Weird.
I don't know. I was like, this isn't New Year's. Like, why are you counting down to Christmas? Like,
that is very strange.
This is very stupid, right? But they're like, 10, 9, and everyone's all excited. Anyway, so they hit 1, and then I'll yell, Merry Christmas, right? And the lights turn out. And then 25th December. Okay.
Why would you think that going out to something like this, when many, many people have been murdered, is a good idea?
I have no idea.
And a lot of them happened in public.
Mm-hmm. Also, the curfew is in place now.
You dumb.
So it's stupid. It's real stupid. So we see, like, it's December 25th. The other stuff is happening with the cops and all them nonsense, and that's, you know. And then we flash back to the bar, and we see the mom and their friend Lisa being led into the bar, dressed up as elves and wrapped up in glowing Christmas lights. Okay, they've got little gags in and stuff. And Crazy Claus is right behind him, right? And he's like, Merry Christmas! Now who's been naughty? And just starts hacking away at people. And then Harley Claus comes in too, and she just starts shooting off her crossbow, killing people. And one of the first people she hits is Redhead's boyfriend, so he dies. He goes down. So everyone's sort of screaming and hiding, and apparently there wasn't really actually that many people in the bar, because there's really not that many people in the bar. Anyway, so Redhead, Jen, and David, Jen's boyfriend, are hiding. And they're like, oh my gosh, they killed Joe, right? And David goes, we need to move. And Jen goes, I'm not leaving without my mom and Lisa. And he's like, we need to get out of here. And she's like, no, we can't leave without them. And he goes, they can't take the person I love away from me. And I was like, you guys are in love? Okay. This is the second time we've seen you. Like, who are you?
Also, that's kind of selfish of you. Because what about the people that she loves?
I know, but see, this is the conversation that doesn't make any sense, because apparently what is actually happening is him being like, I'm coming with you, but that's not what the line said.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, Redhead goes, I'm going to try to draw them outside. And they were like, that's stupid. You're going to die. And she goes, I'm not going to be a victim again. And so she gets up and runs out.
You can't choose that.
I know, right? And she goes, hey, Jingle Whore, follow me, and runs outside. And I guess in the process of running outside, runs into another friend or someone else from the bar or whatever, because now she's suddenly outside with another chick, and they're running and holding hands and just kind of freaking out, right?
Okay.
And before, we had also seen when all this was going on, when Nicholas was still doing his little, like, narration thingy, we saw them walking up towards the bar being all like, gung-ho, kind of just, and she does that weird little, like, extra leg thing, and just, it's stupid.
She's a comic book character.
She's like, it's just, it's ridiculous. And right before all this happens, he tells her, like, you're gonna love what I got you for Christmas, and she's like, is it a bear trap? And he's like, you'll see. And that is what Redhead steps on when she goes outside. But this, if this was a bear trap, it had to be for a gummy bear, because this thing was like maybe the size of the palm of my hand. It was a very little
like
bear
a fox trap.
Yeah, it was a very teeny tiny little trap.
Bear traps are very large.
Oh yeah, like if you step on an actual bear trap,
your knee,
you're
gone.
that leg is gone. Yeah. That, like, it doesn't matter if they are able to save you and take you to the hospital. That leg is shattered. Yeah, there's no come back.
Dunzo.
You're most likely gonna have to have it amputated, right? Yeah. But it literally just like clamps onto her shoe. So like just kind of like just yeah. But it hurts enough that she can't, like, she's also, like, chained to the ground. It's, like, stuck, you know, so she can't get away. And is, like, telling the other girl to go when the other girl gets shot through the chest with a crossbow bolt, right?
Yeah, of course. That's why long-range weapons are important.
Exactly. So I'm going to tell what happens to Redhead, because it's very short compared to what's happening inside. Okay. So the crazy chick comes up to her, and she's like, I'm going to get you. And she's like, fuck you, bitch. And she's like, ooh.
I'm not a victim.
She's like, you're feisty. I like feisty. And then starts licking her face. And then gets shot by the police because the hot cop and the sheriff show up, and I don't know which one shot her, but one of them shot her. Okay. And she's laying on the ground being like, oh, fuck you, pigs. Like, and so, yeah. And they handcuff her and are calling for backup and stuff. And the hot cop stays outside because he's got a victim right here and he's got a suspect. And so now he's waiting for backup. And the sheriff just runs inside, even though he's like, Sheriff, don't do that. That's stupid. And he's like, we can't wait. And
Here I go.
Yeah, so he goes inside. Inside, Jen runs up and stops Nicholas from axing some random person on the ground. And she's like, you need to stop. And he's like, oh, a father has to agree to the pleas of his daughter, kind of a thing, right? Uh-huh. And she's like, please don't hurt anyone else. And he's like, well, look at you. Aren't you a true blue hero? And she's like, I'm not a hero. And he's like, well, neither am I, but that's what they call you when you kill for Uncle Sam. And she's like, okay. Like, and
if he's British, I don't think he could be in our military. I don't know. I guess marriage.
But like I seriously think the only reason why they made him British was for the birds comment. I think that's the only reason why.
But he's not the one who said that, is he?
What he says in the bathroom when they're killing the girls, he's like, 4 birds is enough tonight.
Right. Oh, okay.
But I'm like, as a crazy person, I would have just been like, sure, 4 birds, that's it. Like, it fits. I just killed 4 people. It fits. Because I killed a dog, and I count that as a Frenchman.
Freaking geese.
You know, like,
right. I mean, geese are geese, but yeah. Okay.
You know? Yeah. It's just bullshit. It's just, I don't know why they made him British, other than the fact that I'm pretty sure it was for that line. Maybe it was because the actor was British too. I don't know.
Was he? Because that sounds like a terrible accent.
I didn't even look him up. But he's a handsome dude without all the makeup off. Like, he's a pretty handsome actor. And he wasn't terrible. I think it was the directing and the character that he was just bad. Gotcha. But, like, he was dedicated to the character is all I have to say. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, well, that's what they call you when you kill for Uncle Sam. And not to worry, because he didn't kill anyone who actually cared about Christmas. What that has to do with
what the fuck?
Anything, I have no idea.
Okay.
And she says and he says that she's still a hero and might not even know it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. This is very uplifting.
She replies, I could never kill anyone. And he says, we'll see. And I'm like, what? This is, again, the conversations that just don't make any sense. And like, just, and he goes, we're going to play a game. And he points over at the mom and the friend and shows that they have bombs strapped to them.
Okay.
Because he's like, yeah, because he was in the military. Sure. And he goes, you'd be surprised what you can buy at hardware stores these days. And I was like, okay. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
You know, but like.
I mean, if you can make meth, you can make a bomb.
Oh, so. Yeah. And she's like, why are you doing this? And he goes, to protect you from people who don't believe in anything, and she needs to fight for what's right. You have to kill for what's right.
What is happening?
I have no idea. And I'm sure in his demented mind, that makes sense. But to everyone else in the world...
What the fuck?
What the fuck? Thanos was right. We just need to, like...
just snap him away.
Okay. Anyway, so he goes, you only... And I quote, you only let the light to show the way.
What?
I don't know what that means.
Nope.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a British
sure that's
term.
what he said with his accent?
Exactly what he said. I watched it 4 times with subs.
Okay.
So that is what he said. And
Not Doms, only subs.
Yep. And he says that they're the same, and he's got her a brand new mommy that she'll love.
She's dead.
That she's not dead.
Oh.
But she was shot. Yeah, she got shot outside. And Jen is like, I will never love her, and I'm never gonna love you, and if you truly loved me, you wouldn't be killing my friends. And he gets mad and says if she wants him dead, she needs to kill him herself. And he hands her a gun and, like, sticks it to his head, right? And he's like, pull the trigger. And it's just like, fucking do it, right? And, like, he's totally tried to, like, and she's like, I couldn't ever kill anybody. And he's like, either you kill me or I'm going to blow the bombs up and, like, kill your mom and your friend and everyone fucking else in this bar because that is enough fucking
whatever
C4 what nonsense to literally blow the building up. Like, and he just is like, do it. And her mom and her friend are just like, in the background. Like,
just kill him.
So she pulls the trigger and all it does is click.
Of course.
Yeah. And he's like, see, we are the same. You just need proper motivation. Well, her boyfriend jumps up and is like, get away from her. And the dad grabs the daughter's hands, puts a grenade in her hands, and, like, so that she squeezes it shut and yanks the pin out and tosses it. Because a grenade is not dangerous if it has the pin in it, right?
Yeah.
But if you shot it, it might be a problem. But, like, yeah. And so he's like, now you better hold on to that or we're going to have a problem in here, kind of a thing. And she's like, oh my gosh. So she's, like, desperately clinging to this grenade to keep it shut. And he looks at the son, or the boyfriend, and he goes, do you love her? And David's like, what? Like, what are you talking about here and stuff? And he was like, it's Christmas, David. Do you love her? And I was like, what
is happening?
I don't know. And he's like, yes, I do. Like, and looks at Jen and he's like, yeah, I do. And Nicholas goes, every father wants to hear that his daughter is loved, but not from another guy, and axes him in the chest. Like, just like...
Wrong choice, David.
Like, I know, right?
Okay.
But I mean, like, but if you said no, I'm sure you'd have been like, oh, so my daughter's not good enough for you? Like, bullshit. You. Like, there's no winning with crazy, you know?
No. Okay.
But it's Christmas, David. Like, he just screamed.
Do you love her?
Anyway, so he axes him in the chest, and so then the dad, or the crazy Nicholas, I guess, sees the sheriff coming inside at this point, and he goes, we've got company, so we're going to have to do this faster than I thought I was going to, kind of a thing. And he's like, now, either you pick who's going to die, or they're both going to die, because those are going to go off in 10 seconds if you don't pick right now, right? Because he's like, I set him to a timer, so he's like, you need to pick. And so she's like, I can't do it. And he's like, you have to. He's like, 5, 4, 3, and she clicks, and her friend's Christmas lights go out. Obviously, she picked the friend. I would it's my mom. I know. Well, but, like, she's like, it's my mom and I love her. And I'm like, your mom has made a lot of bad life choices and, like, lied to you for a very long time. Listen, I know she's your mom. Your friend did nothing wrong other than be your friend and have the last name Swan. This poor girl. Anyway, so her Christmas lights go out and he goes, see, you and I are alike, kind of a thing. But they keep saying not dissimilar instead of just you and I are the same. They keep saying we're not dissimilar at all. Like, just...
Okay. Just trying to be fancy.
I know. I was like, stop it with the fancy words. Get out of here with that. I know. And he's like, see, you really can kill. You just need the proper motivation. And that she'll kill to protect something that she loves, just like him. And then the sheriff shoots him. And he gets knocked flat on his ass, like all the way knocked back on his back. And she's like, oh my gosh. And the sheriff runs up and he's like, it's okay, Jennifer. You're safe now, right? And the dad sits up like he wasn't just shot, okay? And he's like, you're never going to be safe, Jennifer, because what are they going to do? Arrest me? And I'll just break out, and I'll come find you again. And so she decides to drop the grenade on top of him, with her being, like, 2 feet away.
And everyone else.
Yeah.
Just there.
And she's, like, obviously sobbing and distraught, and all this shit's going on. But, like, anyway, so it goes off, and the sheriff goes, no, and, like, throws himself over her.
Wow.
I know.
Marry that guy.
Right? He's like, 60. But like...
Well, I'm in the mom.
But yeah, right? I know, I'd have been like, yeah, he just saved my daughter's life. What is Frank doing? Dead. Nothing. Yep. So like, apparently though, it was just a stun grenade. So it was a big smoke, like big flash of smoke and lights and everything. And they look back and Nicholas is, because, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, and he tells her to close her eyes. He's like, close your eyes, because obviously he doesn't want her to be blinded. So I'm like, okay, I mean, good dad move, but like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then breaking news on the TV again, right? And they just recap literally everything that just fucking happened. And they're like, oh, and Nicholas is still at large, and the police want you to know that if you see him, to call 911 immediately. Do not approach him. Right? Just, yeah.
New stuff.
And then again, we see the scene from the very beginning with the crazy bitch in the cell, and the hot cop talking to her, and he's like, oh, you're not gonna get out of here, yada yada, and she stands up and is just like, oh, just bullshit. Yeah. But her hands are handcuffed behind her, and this actress contorts her arms up over her head and then grabs the bars of the cell, right? Ugh. And I was like,
yikes.
I'd have been like, I'm shooting you again. Like,
be like, demon!
Just
back
anyway,
away.
She goes, you better watch out. As the music gets really kind of Christmassy, spooky kind of stuff, and we see that Nicholas is standing right behind the cop, and there's a loud thud as the screen goes black. The end of the movie I watched. So.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I feel like the story could have been cool. Mm-hmm. Could have been. In a different circumstance. Mm-hmm.
I just felt there were so many coincidences. Like, I'm okay possibly with the Partridge guy, because he's literally, he gets murdered just because his last name's Partridge. Yeah. That's fine. I get that. The Frenchins, that's fine. Kill them. Did they have to be the divorce lawyer that happened to be, like, it just so happens that luckily her name happens to be Frenchin as well? Like, it just, like,
couldn't it just been of, like, one person the first day, two people the next day, like... Just keep building the suspense.
And, like, even if he left little things like Joker clues where he's like, oh, yeah, here's a pear and this, like, you know.
Or, like, here's some feathers.
And here's some like...
Paper swans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I totally would have believed that. Like, I would have been like, absolutely been like, oh, yeah, he's making the scenarios fit. Yeah. Instead of just so happening to, like...
I'm gonna go vandalize these milkers.
Yeah.
What?
Like, there's...
No.
Yeah.
Also, just this whole, like... spirit of Christmas, do you believe bullshit?
I know,
like,
whatever the fuck that was. I don't know. So I can't decide if my next couple of movies are going to be me doing the sequels, because like...
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh no.
Because I need to see if they're on Tubi, because...
I mean, we don't have enough weeks for that.
I
know. I mean, we can do it outside of Christmas time, I guess.
But yeah.
It's... Woof. Okay. I mean... Yeah. It was a 3-star?
It was 3.4 star.
The star rating sounds worse than what I imagined it to be, but I also didn't watch it.
Yes. Well, so honestly, the filming was actually done really well. Like, they had like a pretty good like film crew. It didn't feel like a B movie so much.
Good. Yeah. Because we've watched a lot of shitty filming.
Oh yeah, and like, I feel like I've watched so many movies where like the plot was stupid, everything was stupid, the filming was stupid, the actors were doing the best that they could. And I really feel like everybody else in this movie was really trying their darndest, except for Jen. She just didn't fucking care. Yeah. She was just like, I'm here. I'm an award-winning film writer. I don't know if
lines, but
I don't know if she wrote this, because if she wrote this, fuck her. Because
take it back.
Yeah, it's how dare you?
Yeah.
I mean, I did enjoy it more than I thought I would, just for the sheer fact that I was like, what is this tomfuckery that is happening right now? Yeah. But it also took me like 6 hours to write my notes on this fucking movie. It was ridiculous.
I feel that. Because you're like, you have to write down every little thing. And you're like, but this doesn't matter. But they made it matter. So I have to tell, it's the worst. And that's why my stuff is so long. Because I'm like, and then they said this, and then they said this, and then they said this. Because there's no context. There's just direct speaking. And it's just... It's the worst.
It's so bad.
It's the worst.
Like, there's so much of this movie that could have been cut out. It was way too long, honestly. It was way too long of a fucking movie. Why did Redhead have to be a slut? Because she wasn't a slut for the rest of the movie. Yeah. That wasn't a big deal.
They're just showing that they're teenagers, haha.
Right? Why was David not in the movie more? I would have been way more convinced and heartbroken that he died had he been in the movie more.
Yeah.
You know? Like, why was... there are a lot of weird longing eye looks between cop and mom because
that was there for a reason, apparently.
I was straight up, I was like, okay, if you're having all these weird longing looks, you should have been married to him, like, not Frank.
Yeah, like, just, is something going on?
Yeah.
Or what?
Like,
yeah.
Maybe they'll explore it more in movie 2, but, like, I didn't see hot cop in the listing of movie 2.
Well, then it's not
so,
worth
like,
it.
I know, I was like...
but, like, and
I'm not trying to say that he's hot cop because I was like, oh, he is damn fine as hell. He is an attractive man, but you could tell that they were like, oh yeah, he's the hot cop of town because they made the sheriff this like balding mustache guy, and there's apparently no other police in the entire fucking town. They also had this like ridiculously stupid secretary that looks like she was 15 and like just there and like constantly just like typing away at nothing.
Yeah,
and
that's what
they're
we do.
Like, yeah, and they were, they were like, yeah, get the feds on the phone. She's like, they're already on the phone on line 2, and he's like, they're not there, and she's like, line 2, and he's like, they're not there, they hung up, and she's like, Kay, like calls them back. She never once doesn't look straight ahead in the whole movie,
ignoring everybody.
Yep, but
that's
like,
nice.
But she's actively like conversating with them in a few things, like conversing, that's the word. Conversing with them a few times. Like at one point, because they were trying to figure out like the 12 Days of Christmas shit, he goes, Kathy, get some Christmas music in here. And she straight up, staring straight ahead, goes, does he say get some Christmas music in here? I was like, okay, Kathy, like, whose daughter are you that you got in this movie because you're useless? Yeah. Like, you're completely useless.
Oh, boy. Fun.
Yep, and there was no point to making them British.
No.
Other than the birds comment. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
And they could have slipped that in without that at all.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking that maybe already kind of do this, but we could do like filming gets this score from me, acting gets this score from me kind of thing. Instead of just being like, the acting was terrible. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to like average out or anything, but just...
Sure. Okay. So filming, I think they spent more money on the camera than they did the rest of the movie.
I mean, hey.
Yeah.
That's
so
something.
I would give filming of the movie itself like a 7.
Okay. The
effects of this movie were all bullshit.
Okay.
All bullshit. And I didn't mention it because they're barely noticeable.
And I mean, there's not a lot. There's, blood and there's blood, stuff.
But all of the blood was CG when it was spurting until it was, like, on them. I don't know why they insist on doing shit like that.
Why can't you do practical blood? It's not hard to do practical blood.
It's stupid.
CG blood looks terrible.
It looks terrible every single time.
Stop it.
So, yeah, I give that one a 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the acting... I would give it a good rounded 5. Okay. Because some people were good, some people were bad.
That's fair.
So it's a good little in-between for that one.
Okay.
Again, if it had literally just been the cop and the sheriff and none of this other family nonsense bullshit going on, I'd have been like, this is a great movie.
Yeah, it'd be a good cop movie.
Yeah, it'd be good, like, great cop movie. And it was just not. And storyline... I give it a 3. Because I liked the 12 Days of Christmas.
It could have been good.
It could have been really good. I'm bitter that they didn't electrocute a bunch of swimmers in a pool.
Yeah.
I'm
like synchronized. Like I get the swim team. Like that's a great tie-in, but synchronized swimmers, man. Like, come on. That's laid out in front of you.
Exactly. And I straight up was sitting there. I was like, ooh, okay, we're at a pool. Why is there only one girl?
Yeah. And then he didn't even kill her.
Nope.
There.
Nope.
She doesn't die.
Yeah. Not in this movie.
Why?
But, like, not that I know. I haven't seen the sequel.
Yeah.
But, like...
It's like, I'm going to go and scare the shit out of her and kidnap her and then leave paper swans.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to do today.
Yep.
That's my day. Mm-hmm. I'm booked.
Because, like, I honestly think that he should have killed her there.
Yeah.
Kidnapped Courtney. And had Courtney be the other person.
Yeah.
All tied up. But they were like, no, Courtney doesn't want to be a victim, so Courtney's not going to be a victim. And I was like, Courtney didn't have to be a victim tied up either. She literally could have, like, ran at... Like, she could have done something, is all I'm saying. Like...
Yeah.
So, I mean, she did do something, but, like, I think it would have been...
done something in that circumstance.
Yeah, it would have been way more effective if Lisa had died in the pool.
Yeah.
And Courtney was the one that had been kidnapped. Or even David been kidnapped or something. Like, someone else kind of... Because then I think that would have been terrible to have to choose between your mom and your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have been chef's kiss. Like, that would have been way, way more traumatizing, I think, than, like, just your friend.
Yeah.
So...
All right. So what is the overall average then, I guess? What do you...
I give it a 3.4.
A 3, okay. Well, sometimes it's not accurate, you know.
Yeah, but... no. I felt like I was having a brain aneurysm with most of the conversations that were going on. Is also it was just...
I hate that. Mm-hmm. Like a bad acting on top of it. You're just like, please, someone stab me in the brain, please. I can't do this anymore.
It was so bad. But anyway, so.
Well, thank you, everybody. Please check out our other episodes. We did another Christmassy movie last week, and we probably will next week as well, throughout the month of December, I think. So stay tuned and subscribe. We are on Stitcher and Spotify and Google and Apple Podcasts. And we are also on YouTube, where we are uploading videos that have like screenshots and clips so that you can kind of see what we are experiencing. You're welcome. And then if you have any suggestions, leave us a comment or send us an email at bmoviebashpodcast@gmail.com. And I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I think that's it.
Yeah, that's about it.
So we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.
We love you.
Love you.
Have a great time.
Have a great time.